All right, everybody, landing with LMR.com in a pretty cool location. We're checking out the Ford Heritage Collection today at Ford World Headquarters. Matt from Ford Performance gave us a very cool opportunity to do this. A lot of cool cars in this facility. They're still trying to chase down a few more from what I can gather from him, but this is what they have available to them currently in their, what they're calling the Heritage Collection. A few different categories scattered throughout, some performance stuff, concept stuff, and things like that, and you're gonna see all the neat things in here as the video goes on. But Matt's gonna explain everything, because if I was to try to explain any of this, it would make no sense at all, because I don't know the history and the lineage of each and every single one of these vehicles. So Matt, Ford Performance team, and Ford Motor Company, thanks for giving us this opportunity to check out these cool cars. We'll roll the footage.
Yeah, so this is 93 Cobra number 9. It's the third one built in Teal. To the best of our knowledge, it's actually the oldest 93 Cobra left. It was the media car, press car, did some engineering work back in the day. Great runner, absolutely great runner, which is funny because, you know, you think a Fox body that sat for 20 years or whatever would just be a bucket of bolts, but this car actually runs and drives really good. And I always tell guys with Fox bodies, one of the funniest things about it too, how many Fox bodies do you see that still have a functioning ashtray lid? This one is all in one piece, which on a Fox body makes it like probably the rarest one in the world. Yeah. But really nice example. And you know, now being that the FX came out, this car was also used in all the promo shots for the FX. Cool. Then here we have the 14 Raptor Supercab. What makes the Supercab really cool is it was a unique wheelbase for Raptor. You couldn't get the Supercab with the short bed on any other F-150. This one's a 2014 with the special edition package. So you got the red interior, bead locks, the stripe. Just a really clean example of the truck that kind of started the whole factory like hot rod off-road truck. You know, without this, you wouldn't have the TRX. You know, this kicked off that whole thing. It's still a truck that people love, even though now it's, you know, what, 10 plus years old. People still absolutely love these Gen 1s. They're a really fun truck too. And then this is 99 Lightning VIN 19. This was a show truck, press truck back in the day. Very low mile, you know, it still smells new. The thing starts and runs great. And again, this, you know, whereas the Raptor kind of started the off-road, like Baja style factory truck, this is a second gen, but it kind of kicked off like that sport truck thing again. You know, it started in the 90s, kind of fizzled out, and then these kind of brought it back again. And then the market for these got ruined by Fast and the Furious using it as their parts truck. So now everybody wants a red Lightning, and the price has gone through the roof because of that. But they're really cool trucks, and I'm glad to see that people still like them. You know, they're still bringing huge money on the market. Now we get to my baby. If you were to ask me what my favorite vehicle in the entire company is, it's Lightning Bolt. So I actually had, it was either a poster or like a hero card or something, but I had a picture of this truck as a kid. And here we are, here we are 20 years later, I got to drive it. I think I had maybe a car driver. Yeah, there was a ton of magazine stuff. You know, Motor Week did a review on it. It's actually on YouTube now. They reposted their retro rewind or something like that. But this truck has the same engine out of the Lightning, but not stock. It actually makes 20 horsepower more than a Lightning. All custom. It's painted Mach 1. It's painted Mach 1 Sonic Blue. It's got full Lightning running gear, so the suspension, the rear axle, all that's out of Lightning. Lightning wheels, 345s on the rear, and it still isn't enough grip for this truck.
Wow. I showed the rear tire. Then you pop the hood?
Yeah. The other cool thing is it's a full custom interior, so it was all done by cat skin, and then all the knobs too, all the billet knobs, they were actually done by MGW. And one thing that I would love to know how they did, they painted the door panels. I've never seen painted door panels last 6 months, let alone like 20 years. They painted them with something and it's still in one piece. Wow. But yeah, this truck runs incredibly well. I actually just took it to the Piquette plant downtown. They had a Cars and Coffee, and I drove this down there. this thing's such a riot. It's such a good truck. And it's crazy to think too, like you start looking at all the things they did under the hood, like painted the valve covers, painted the blower, like the level of detail that they went through when they built this truck. And it was always just a show truck. Like it was never, you know, nobody ever really planned on doing anything other than just showing it. Yeah. And I mean, they went to such a high level when they built it. You know, even the lightning bolt down the side of the truck, that's not vinyl, that's paint. And then it has like peak 2000s clear tail lights on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The coolest ugly tail lights known to man. Then this one here, this is super unique. So this is the last ever produced SVT Contour. Never been dealer prepped. I mean, you can see like center caps aren't in it, window stickers still in it. You have like the plant inspection stickers on the windshield. These were really good cars. They were, I mean, for the time, again, there was nothing really that competed against it from the US makers. You know, you had some of the imports that were, but this was kind of like one of the early US like sport compact style car. They're fantastic cars to drive. I mean, again, like everything, you know, is it fast by today's standards? Absolutely not, but it's a ton of fun to drive, really good all-around package. And that was kind of the thing that SVT was always known for. Like, you never had the crazy over-the-top stuff. SVT was always really big in doing complete packages. You know, sure, could we have made, you know, 600 horsepower in a Terminator? Yeah, but then it wouldn't have been as good all around. And same with these. Right. It was, as a complete package, SVT was top of their game. And same with the Focus. You know, the SVT Focus, again, not a ton of power, but as a complete unit, it's just a fantastic car. You know, like everybody always says, it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. Well, when you're driving something like this that doesn't make a ton of power, you can ring it out, have a ton of fun in it, and not be going a speed that can get you in too much trouble. And same with like the Fiesta ST. Tiny little car that's just an absolute blast to drive, even just around town. Because it feels like you're flying, but you're doing like 40. Mm-hmm. But then, yeah, so over here, we have the 3 Cobra R VIN 1s. So that's 93 VIN 1, 95 VIN 1, 2000 VIN 1. And a lot of people gravitate towards the 2000 as being their favorite of the Rs, but honestly, my favorite's the 95. The 95s got raced a lot. A large portion of those cars were driven, I think it was called Motorola Cup back in the day. And it's unique too because it's painted white. Like, you think Cobra R, most people think this, but they forget about the 95. And being the white paint, being that they were raced so much, you didn't have vinyl wrap back in the mid-90s. So how do you paint your race car livery? Well, white's the best color to use. And same with the interior, that brown interior. You know, we knew that it was going to get just thrown in the garbage and people were going to put a cage and, you know, containment seats in it. So that's, you know, as far as like a racing background, the 95 I would say is probably has the most. And it's just a super good car. You know, it's got the 351 in it, the adjustable shocks, bigger brakes. Like it's in 95, I mean, that thing was an absolute monster on a road course. And people drove them. You know, the 2000R, a lot of people didn't. A lot of people just put them in a bubble, put them in their garage, and they've just been sitting on them. You know, there were some that got raced, but I mean, you didn't see guys in 2000 Cobra Rs banging fenders like you would in the 95. And also, partially why the 95 is my favorite is the market hasn't quite realized how cool they are, so you can still maybe afford one. None of us mere mortals can afford a 2000R or a 93R. 95s, people have kind of forgotten about them. Yeah, so the V10 unfortunately is not here right now. We're getting it up and running again. Yeah, so that car was super cool. So the body of the car was actually a development mule for 2000R. That's why it had the hood on it. And then that car got, so it's a handmade 351 cubic inch V10. It started life as two 4.6s, very heavily modified and crammed together. Mm-hmm. The intake was modified off of the Cobra R. The heads were modified off of Cobra R. But I mean, it was literally all handmade from the ground up. It ran off of two PCMs because there was no PCM at the time that could control that motor. It was basically two PCMs thinking they were running straight fives. So here we have an 08 GT500 KR and an 08 GT500 Convertible. Nothing super significant behind the VIN on these cars. They were just really clean examples that we still had. You know, the 08 was kind of a cool car because it was like the first, you know, since Terminator stopped being made, you didn't have that super high performance Mustang. So the GT500 with the supercharged 5.4 kind of kicked that off again. And it was, you know, kind of like ushering in the second or third horsepower war, depending on how you look at it. You know, I mean, it hasn't slowed down since these came out. Every year, cars have been getting more and more ridiculous. You know, so great cars. I mean, the S197 platform is arguably one of my favorites because it still feels like a muscle car, but like a nice one. You know, it doesn't feel like a rickety old 60s hot rod, but it still feels muscle car-y. You know, I really like these a lot. And yeah, these two were just, you know, really nice examples that we had. And the other cool thing is, like, not this car, not so much, but most of the cars we have here were all used at some point. You know, they were never just display cars. You know, like this car was an engineering car. It got used during the development of the car. You know, the engineers drove it, marketing guys drove it. Like, they all got used, you know, and again, that was the purpose of them, use the car. You know, like the 14 convertible we have here. I mean, this thing was a very heavily used engineering car. Like, when you look, there are chips on the nose, like the vinyl's kind of chipped up. But again, that makes it cool. Like, it adds to the story. Like, this car helped develop the car. You know, what you can go buy now was made possible by stuff like this. And, you know, I mean, the 14 cars were really cool because those were the first Mustang to ever do 200. Absolute monster of a car. Ridiculously silly. No Mustang ever needed that much power, especially with a stick axle and those tires. But it was a milestone. It was the first Mustang to do 200. And again, you know, that ushered in then, you know, GT350, GT500 again. Yeah. Yeah, this is a really, really nice car. So this is a 16 350. This car, I know I just said that most of the cars were used. This one was not. This car was built, it was a show car, and it was put up on pallet racking, and that's where it stayed its whole life. It was a show car, and you know, now we have it here to show. But the 350 was a really unique time for Ford, and still to this day a very unique engine, you know, being the flat plane. I mean, this car was truly like the pinnacle of what Ford could do. You know, it had all the technology, all the crazy ideas, you know, and the best sounding car we've ever made, in my opinion. One of these in track mode, oh my God. Hearing that engine up at 8,000 RPM is just awesome. And I'm happy to see a lot of people that bought these, even to this day, on the used market. People are using them. Yeah. They're driving them. They're tracking them. You know, you still have your bubble cars, but a lot of these cars, people are using them for what we designed them for. Because on track, I mean, these things are killer.
Well, all those rear wheels back there, they got them like kicked out or something. They don't. I guess they put it up. They never.
Yeah, it never went through prep.
Yeah.
It's. Yeah.
Way towed out.
Yeah.
All bossed up, you know?
It has, this car has, I think it's 4 or 6 miles on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just been sitting. So it's funny how you just counted them, because these are 04 GTs, even though the program didn't come out till 05. These were VIN 1, VIN 2, VIN 3. These were built for the 100th anniversary of the company. So these are the first 3 running show car GTs. Any of the promo footage you see, like you'll see a red, white, and blue one, that's these 3. The Heritage car was originally dark blue with a white stripe. It got repainted when we launched 06 Heritage. We're gonna get, we would love to paint that car back to its original color just to have it, you know, as built. But yeah, these were so early that they're actually VIN'd as 2004s. And it was the first, like, there was mules, there was bucks and stuff driving around, but these were the first 3, like, production intent, if you will. You know, the actual body, the actual options, color, all of that. Yeah, so the black one is actually an 05. So this is VIN 116, but what makes this one unique, this was the first one to be completed at Wixom Assembly, which is where the cars were built. Everyone before that was either built at the pilot plant, or there was a couple other, like, pre-production stages. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on with how they're built. Like, they're built by hand. They're not, you know, not running down the actual true production line. This was the first one that was built start to finish like a customer car would have been. And then this is 2006 Heritage VIN 1. And what makes this car, in my opinion, really cool as well, again, just like the Cobra R's, most people that buy these just bury them and never touch them, never drive them. This thing's got 30,000 miles on it.
No way.
I mean, look at the headlights.
Yeah.
They're not mint. Like, they're starting to fade a little bit. This car was driven and driven hard, and it was used, again, as an engineering car like it was designed to do.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, 06 number 1 with 30,000 miles. And it still runs and drives great. I mean, it's a fantastic car. Like, we've driven this one a few times. We had this at, there was, I think it was 2 years ago now, the 30th anniversary of SVT. They did like a reunion meet and greet. We took this out there. This car runs fantastic. This is a really cool car. So this is a liquid carbon GT. So all GTs had exposed carbon fiber bodies. Or sorry, all had carbon fiber bodies, but the liquid carbon pack was the exposed carbon. And if you look really close, the weave, panel to panel, all lines up with itself. Like fender to door, mirror to door, like all of the weave, it all lines up, which you would never see obviously on a painted car. So the liquid carbon was just a really cool concept, a really cool idea. We sold some people did buy them. It was a obscenely expensive option because think about all the work that went into making the weave line up. When you have a car that's painted, it doesn't matter. You know, it's structurally it's the same, but when it's all a visual change like that, it's a ton of work to do. The other downside to these cars, they're very much a supercar where they need to stay plugged in, otherwise they go dead, which is why the hood is open. And then this one here is the Mark II. So the Mark II basically came after the Le Mans program, and they took everything that we learned from racing, threw the rule book away, and built the ultimate track car. So it makes more power than the race car did, it has more aggressive aero than the race car did. These were never VIN'd, they were just meant to be an absolute peak track car. You know, full cage, all the, like the hydraulic suspension, all that's gone, it's all fixed. You know, monstrous front and rear diffusers. I mean, these things are, it's as close to an actual like GT3 race car that you could buy. And some would say it's almost better than that because you're not tied back by the regulations of, you know, IMSA, FIA, all of the sanctioning bodies. There's a few of them. I don't remember the exact number that were built, but I know there's a guy out in California that has one, and he tracks it all the time. He's taken it to all the tracks out on the West Coast. You know, I mean, and again, like I keep saying, I sound like a broken record, but that's what it was designed for. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. It's not like you needed more power anyway. Yeah, I mean, these things, you know, the power was one thing, but really the aero was the big thing with these. I mean, just think of the amount of downforce that this would have at 100 miles an hour. I mean, you're not going to upset this chassis going into a corner. We can open the doors on this one. This one's manual. That's how they got the weight down. No, so you could get, so this was one of the unveiling liveries we did. The one in California looks like one of the old Dan Gurney Mustangs, yellow with the stripes.
What if I sit in this thing?
You're not going to fit.
Okay,
I promise you won't fit.
I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
You know, on a lot of these modern cars, it's so much easier to just drop the whole subframe than trying to work on them under the hood. The worst part about this car, though, is loading it on a trailer. You need like 40 feet of wood blocks to get it up on a trailer. Yeah, so this is an 18 RS painted in race red, which was only available on 2018, which was the final edition. This specific car, it's not a significant VIN, but it, again, just like a lot of the cars, it was an engineering car. The Ford Performance folks used it. You know, it's benchmarking for upcoming product, you know, service, I mean, all sorts of things. 2018, they got, you know, like I said, race red, which was only available on the final edition. These cars were just, they were an absolute riot to drive. Like, no Focus should go as fast as one of these does. So these two right here don't really look like anything special, but these are arguably the most unique vehicles in the collection. So this is the first F-150 built at New Dearborn Assembly, where they're currently built. And then this is the last Mustang built at Old Dearborn Assembly. Dearborn Assembly was the only plant that, from the beginning of Mustang through 2004, built it all along. There were other plants that built Mustangs, but they didn't build them the whole time. So this is the last one. And you know, SN95 New Edge were effectively just heavily modified Foxes. So if you really want to get technical, that's the last Fox ever made. Yeah. But last SN95, last Fox body, I'll make that. And what's really cool with these is how we found them. So we took the 3 Cobra R's to Michigan Assembly's Family Day. And, you know, we're showing the cars off, and the plant manager comes up to us. It's like, hey, you guys got to come see what we've got. So she takes us to this random building that hasn't been used in forever. And in the corner, there's just pallet racking stacked up like 30 feet in the air. I felt like Indiana Jones walking in there. You got to like make yourself skinny, fit in between the pallet racking. We walk around the corner, and these two are sitting there under covers since 2004. Never been driven, never been titled, never been sold. Like this truck, you open the door on it, we were talking earlier about the new car smell. This thing takes you back to 2004. I mean, it's literally like opening the door on a brand new vehicle. I told you. It is brand new.
Brand new 05.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ted Ryan, Archives and Heritage Brand Manager. The ambulance down there and this Ranger, 2000 electric Ranger, were both donated. We're not even a 503c. These are people that just gave their vehicles to Ford Motor Company because they wanted them saved. Electric Ranger didn't work. The program ultimately was a failure, but we learned from it. And if you look at some of the same type of connections, the same way that we were charging, we've got the charging unit in the back that would show how it goes. Today it still runs, it has about a 30-mile-ish range, depending on the weather and whether we've charged it, which we haven't charged it in a while. It was 60 in the day, but now it's 30. And it was mainly used by like National Park Services that would do like a 15-mile loop, come back, plug it in, another 15-mile loop, never pay for gas, you know, and they would just do, it was used by post offices as well, because, you know, how many miles does a postal truck go while it's on its route? 5, 10? So you could do your entire route with something like that. This is one of the Reproduction Model Ts. It was one of the ones built for the 100th anniversary of the company. What was interesting about it is they used the same molds. So it's the same presses and the same molds that got the original Model T. They had to make a couple of them, but this is as close to a new old stock as you can get, because it's new, but it was made out of old stock. And then the ambulance was the Belmar Safety Squad. That is a volunteer safety organization in Belmar, New Jersey. And this was their first ambulance. They were founded in 1935, I want to say, and this is 1938. They actually, in our collection, I don't have it here, but we have the receipt. We have the letter to them, to their dealer, specifying what they wanted. It's got a pretty cool hood ornament that actually doubles as a hood latch. You know what? I'm going to leave this one up today for the tour as well. These old dealers will love seeing this. V8 engine, you can see the V8 logo on the front, and then the horsepower on the side, 85 HP, which for those days, that's a cooking truck. It still runs. We drove it in. And then in the back, they had a lot of the same kind of medicines and the same things that they would have used. Obviously, as the Belmar Safety Squad continued, they got newer material, newer trucks, newer this, but they kept this as their parade truck. I love the V8 logos on the hubcaps. And then in here, you see the type of material that would have been there with the safety squad. It's kind of a sad story in a way too. They were put out of business by their city. Their city wanted a new emergency management system, so they declined their insurance, and it all got messy, and so the safety squad actually donated to us instead of letting the city take over their truck. And then we got that bitter at the end. Like, no, we're not going to get a tax write-up, but the city won't get a hold of our truck. This is the Mustang that was cut up and put on top of the Empire State Building in 2014 for the 50th anniversary of the Mustang. You may not know it, but go Google it real quick and you'll see that in 1965, as part of a publicity stunt, we cut up a Mustang and put it on actually October 65. We put it on the roof of the Empire State Building. We recreated it for the 50th anniversary, and this is actually the elevator slot that they used to practice. The Empire State Building doesn't have big old freight elevators that you could put a car on and take it up. So we actually had to cut it up, disassemble it, and reassemble it on the top of the Empire State Building, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You'll see, if you Google, you'll see videos of this thing online. And if y'all are doing a video, see your video. We've got some B-roll of the car being put on the Empire State Building. This is the 10 millionth Mustang, and it came off the line at Flat Rock in 2017, I want to say. No, 2018. And was the 10 millionth Mustang built, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Mustang, you got 2 million of them, or 1 million of them in the first year, 2 million of them in the first 4 years for 5 years, and then it took another 45 years to get the next X number of millions. So the sales on Mustang went down with the Mustang 2, and then slowly with the Fox body came back up, and then Generation 4 went back down a bit, and Generations 5 and 6 and 7 have remained up. So these two were essentially drivers that media could get. But they're also early examples of vehicles, because usually the comms fleet is getting something pretty early in the game. That Bronco in particular, that was the first Bronco. Remember, if you recall, the Bronco was introduced in the midst of COVID, and we had this big event out at Hollyoaks where they had this and one of the other Broncos on display as they were doing the photo shoots, getting the Bronco out.
This is arguably one of the coolest cars we have. So this was built in '98. It was a Bronco concept based off of a Super Duty. It's a V10 manual. Started as a Supercab short bed truck. They chopped the bed, chopped the doors, turned it into a Bronco. This had never been shown outside of the design studios until we brought it here. So this thing is like, you know, it's literally been in hiding since '98. And one of the higher ups here, I don't remember who specifically, but they saw it back in the '90s and loved it and actually had one commissioned for themselves. Like to a T. The same company that made this made that for him. And one of the most crazy things about this is, so we've all seen Supercab trucks, right? You know how the door comes all the way up and all of that. So they modified it to make it look more Bronco-y, but the door still works. It actually still works.
Did it have a removable top?
At one point in time, I was told it had a black fiberglass cap. You know, throughout the years.
V10 manual? Sorry, not the
Yeah. Yeah, it was just it was a Super Duty. I think it was an XL. It was basically just a work truck, but it fit the Bronco DNA. You know, manual, sporty. I say air quotes. You know, but yeah, it runs and drives too. I mean, we haven't driven it in a while. The master cylinder, the throwout bearing is throwout bearing, master cylinder. It needs some work because it's been sitting since '98, but it will run. It just needs a little bit of love. So this is the Atlas prototype. This was a show truck that was shown on all the international auto shows, and it was essentially a preview to the 2015 F-150, the all aluminum truck. And like when you start looking at it, I mean, you can see like the headlights, that's almost exactly what a 2015 F-150 became. The grille design, like a lot of these show cars, you know, as they sit, didn't go into production, but a lot of the design elements, a lot of the design, you know, themes became production. This one was very, very, very similar to what became the production truck. And what makes a lot of these really cool is everything's made by hand. You don't have your plastic molds. You don't have any of that stuff. So you're making all of this stuff by hand. Like the grille, it's all metal.
No way.
All of this stuff, it's all because you don't have the plastic.
Wow.
Like, go grab the door handles.
No way.
It's all billet. It's all metal. And that's how you know pretty much all of these concept vehicles were, because again, you don't have your plastic molds, you don't have all your rapid production stuff up and running. So what do? Well, you have the super talented people in the machine shop or in the prototype shop make them by hand. And even like, you know, looking inside of it's different, but again, a lot of the design elements carried over to the production truck. Yeah, even like the door panel, that's all metal. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you can feel how heavy the door is just by just moving it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Basically just a solid chunk of metal.
So how long does it take to...
So this was a collaboration between Ford and Airstream, the RV maker. It was, you know, that's not vinyl wrap. That's actually clear coat over polished metal. This was never ever going to be a production car. It was purely a design study. But you start, again, like kind of like with Atlas, you start picking up on little things. Like for example, the grille and the headlights. That's almost exactly what became second gen Ford Edge. You know, it kind of does.
It looks like it has one-off tires.
Yeah, a lot of the show concepts had like basically hand carved tires.
Really?
Yeah. So another cool feature about this is the seats would swivel. So it was like very RV like in that regard. And then these were your side view mirrors with the camera and the little tiny baby screen from the 2000s.
Yeah.
Not like the screens that we have on the stuff today, but right? It'd be an awesome like overland, you know, van life type van. It would have been super cool.
brake setup on their feet.
Yeah, on a little minivan, yeah, that's a lot of brake for it.
Yeah, that's true.
So the theory behind it was it was going to be like an air purifier, space heater, like so when, you know, off grid. And a lot of the concepts, like that's all they are is a concept. You know, a lot of the stuff was like what could be, you know, 10 years in the future, 15 years in the future. So you get a lot of really wild stuff going on with these. This one was a lot more like production oriented. This was the Fairlane concept that became Ford Flex. So you can see a lot of things in this that became Flex. I mean, obviously you didn't get the rear doors opened normally on a Flex, but you know, a lot of like the design, you know, the shape, the design very much was what became the Flex. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll drain the ass, boy. That's a cutting board. It's got wood on the inside eco too. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then this was the Lincoln MKR Concept. So this was a 3.5 EcoBoost rear-wheel drive, like sports sedan. Again, just another concept, but some of the design elements carried over. You know, like again, the grille seems to be a reoccurring theme. The grille was, you know, basically what went to Lincoln production, you know, a couple years after. Again, it's just a really cool design study to see what could be, see what the designers are capable of, and that's what makes a lot of these cars really unique. Is like it shows off what a designer can do if you just say go. Yeah. You know, you don't have to worry about crash, you don't have to worry about emissions, you don't have to worry about any of that. These are really kind of just like highlighting, you know, the pure creativity and talent of the people that design the cars.
I'm impressed with the finish.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but
I mean, hand built.
Exactly, to that point. But being hand built and having designers looking at it constantly,
Yeah, you get a little more.
they're going to be a lot more picky.
Yeah.
Because you know, a designer is going to see that and be like, that body line is 1/10 of a millimeter. No, we need that fixed. How dare you mess up my design? But like this, I mean, all things considered, I mean, it really does look like what could be a production car. A crazy contraption is the right word for it. Basically, it was just purely a design study. You know, back in the 90s and 2000s, like all the automakers were doing stuff like this, like just what a city car could be in the future, or what, you know, a personal car could be in the future. This was going to be hydrogen or electric. Just obviously none of this was ever going to be production, but just a really cool what if scenario. Like one of the things that it was supposed to be able to do is you could fold this all down, so you would have like just this really nice like lounge table type thing going on. I mean, in all reality, like taking something like this to the beach or whatever would have actually been kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be able to stuff your cooler in there and
Side by side.
Yeah.
Or a side by side.
yeah, basically.
You could take your picnic bench to the beach.
Exactly. Just a giant rolling picnic bench. This is one of the more unique ones. So this is the Ford 49 Concept. This was from the early 2000s, basically like a throwback to what, like at the time, a modern interpretation of what a traditional hot rod would have been. So, you know, chop top, lead sled kind of styling. Just a really cool concept. And again, kind of like with the Airstream, right? Like what a designer can do when you just let them loose. And you can definitely tell that it was really just meant to be like a modern hot rod. This car was everywhere. It went to all the auto shows, you know, just a really cool what if scenario.
Okay, I need this little thing right here.
Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly what happened on all of these concepts. It was just like, do it, you know, have fun.
Do that anymore?
Not really. I mean, they still will to an extent, not like it used to be, because now, you know, you think like 3D rendering and everything's way better, you know, because you'll notice like a lot of these, they kind of stop in the mid 2000s, early 2010s. But, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, for better or for worse, you know, computers get faster, graphics get better, you know, do you need to spend hundreds of thousands, millions, you know, you don't know, to build something that's just going to be on display. Like, exactly. Do a 3D render of it and be done. This is the 2004 Bronco concept. It was in a movie with The Rock, Rampage was the name of it. But again, it's cool to see, like, so Bronco that we know now didn't come out until 2020, but as far back as 04, we were thinking about doing it. And you see a lot of similarities between this and what became the production Bronco. You know, the dimensions are pretty similar, you know, the overall shape, you know, the round headlights, like a lot of it is very similar to what became production nearly 20 years later. Just a really, again, another what if type scenario. But it shows that, like, because people tend to be like, oh, Ford didn't care about the Bronco, they forgot. Well, no, we did this in 04, we did that one in 98, like it was always there.
Yeah.
It just, was it the right time? Was it the right for the market, you know? Then this little thing, this was the Ford Start concept. It was basically meant to just be like a little city car. It was a 3-cylinder EcoBoost manual transmission. It would have been a really fun little car. But again, it was one of those things where, like, you know, market testing and everything, people just decided, it is what it is. But, you know, again, some of the design concepts, like if you look at the nose of this, like if you look at that grille, that's almost 1-to-1 for the Focus.
Yeah.
The headlights, similar shape, or similar, you know, small, different shape, similar design. Like a lot of, that's what you'll see through most of these concepts. You see little bits and pieces like, wait, that looks a lot like this, you know. So that's another thing that they're used for, is to test stuff out. Like, hey, we think this might look cool. We think people might like this. We don't want to show the production car. Let's do this instead. This was the Reflex concept, kind of just like a little sporty city car. Similar, you know, similar size to this, but more sporty oriented. Just, again, another cool what if scenario. Almost like a Ford Miata, if you will.
This looks like that. Didn't they make like a Shelby?
Oh, yes, the
It reminds me of
GR1.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's gonna give me a Chrysler Crossfire vibe.
a little bit, yeah. And even to a lesser extent, like 350Z,
Yeah.
like the rear quarter and stuff like that.
Very wide.
Yeah, really cool little car though. And then this one here, this was the Transit Connect taxi concept. So this was right around the time where like the Crown Victoria, Lincoln Town Car were going out of production. So the company was like, well, we need something to replace that as a taxi. And this was the very first concept of it. Raised roof, you know, better passenger space, a lot easier for like wheelchairs and stuff to be loaded in and out. But again, just another design study, design concept. You can see the full glass roof would have been really cool.
Yeah.
That would have made for a really cool experience in downtown New York, looking up out of the glass roof.
For sure.
So this car here, this was the Ford Interceptor concept. This was a 5-liter Cammer motor, the FRPP motor. Just big, muscly V8 rear-wheel drive sedan. Unfortunately, never made production. Would have been a really awesome car if it did, but...
Oh, there's a Jensen Interceptor. That wasn't a Ford product.
No.
That was in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, this used a lot of FRPP catalog parts. Like I said, it has the 5-liter Cammer. There was a lot of catalog parts on it, which was actually one of the first times that happened. But again, like, hey, you need parts. Well, we sell them. It's easy. And then kind of similar idea to the Interceptor, you have the 427. So what's really cool about this is it had a punched out version of the V10 that was in that silver Mustang. Okay. So this is a 427 cubic inch V10 rear wheel drive sports sedan. And while, yes, this never made production, like, look at the nose, look at the wheels. That screams first gen Fusion. Yeah. Like the headlights, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you could put that headlight as a replacement for a Fusion. It would probably bolt right in.
This was before a Fusion.
Yeah, this was roughly like 4 years before Fusion came out. But yeah, how cool would a V10 rear wheel drive sedan have been to drive? It's aluminum, but it was based off of the 351 V10 that was in the silver Mustang GT that we had over there. And actually that same motor was in that Shelby Cobra concept. Because you had the GR1 and the Cobra from, I think that was like 04, somewhere in there. And that Cobra had the V10 as well. Yeah, a lot of it did. Again, the nose. I mean, that's very similar to production Lincoln stuff. But again, just like a little city car concept. Really interesting roof design too, where you didn't have your normal windshield header. So like, kind of almost like just one giant sunroof, so you could see up and kind of like open air. You notice the sort of hubless steering wheel too. And then yeah, this was the Thunderbird concept. What's cool with this is nothing really changed from concept to production. It's almost exactly what became the production Thunderbird. But this predated it by about 3 years. Yeah. Couple small things changed, like the steering wheel was different, nothing major though. I mean, it's almost exactly like the production T-Bird. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the production car had those, but that's another thing, like with a lot of the concepts too, is you'll find random bits and pieces from like a car that was like 10 years before it. Yeah. Because they just had it laying around, It's like, oh crap, we need a mirror for this. Go to the parking lot and grab that Mustang mirror.